So, you may notice my beads here. These are my prayer beads. I'm not Buddhist, but I have a Dalai Lama story for you. So the Dalai Lama went to New York, and he went to a hot dog stand, and he said, "Make me one with everything." And, oh, that was bad. He said, "Make me one with everything." And the hot dog vendor gave him the hot dog, and the Dalai Lama paid him the money. And he stood there for a second. He said, "What about my change?" And the hot dog vendor said, "The change must come from within." And, oh my God, I'm bombing today. But when you think of change, it really does need to come from within. And what I'd like to chat about in my time here, I've got 18 minutes, and they may have to beat me to death at the end to get me off. But what I'd like to talk a little bit about is social entrepreneurialism and how we can make a difference in the world in terms of the number one of the Millennium Goals, which is eradicating poverty. Because for me, this has been a major driver in my life. And it made a major impact in terms of taking my life in a new direction and making a shift in my thinking that allowed me to not only create and achieve at a greater level, but do it with more joy. How you guys doing? We're okay? Yes? I need some love. Okay, thank you. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And my goal here today is I would hope to inspire people to come from an entrepreneurial place to create your every dream. Because my belief is that entrepreneurialism is the key, is the scaffolding underneath your dreams. But it's also the key to eradicating poverty on a larger level. And we're going to talk about that in a second. And so it would be to inspire you to not only create your dreams and live your dreams, but also to make a difference in the lives of others. And both are possible. You know, a lot of people that I've met and teaching around the world, I've been teaching around the world. I've actually just pulled myself out of the seminar effort to be here at home. So it feels good to be back in Marina Del Rey. And I'm in one place, and I'm not on the road anymore. And that's beautiful for me. But yeah, there's a lot of people that, you know, they have conflict in terms of, should I go out and do something that's altruistic versus following my own heart or doing what I feel that I want to do? And I would say that you can do both. In fact, I think you're best suited to make a difference in the world when you are living your purpose, and we'll talk about that in a bit. So for me, I had a lot of these conflicts, money conflicts. How many people have ever had money conflicts before? I'm curious. Yeah. I've got a good old friend of mine here that made a big difference in my life at one point. He's one of the best hypnosis teachers in the world, and it's Topher Morrison. But there was a time in my life where I was reading all the books, you know, and I was reading, the Dynamic Laws of Prosperity by Catherine Ponder. It was recommended by Topher, and that made a big difference in my life when I was struggling. But what made the biggest difference for me in terms of a complete revolution of thought was when I started to study Warren Buffett. And when I began to study Warren Buffett, this was long before he pledged his, $31 billion to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. But I realized that he had always had the intention of giving all of his money back in the form of a foundation at the end of his life, which he's ended up doing a little bit earlier, because he found a good custodian for the wealth in Bill Gates. And the realization that everything that he was building and following his heart and following his dreams was going to serve this grander purpose in the world. Having made that commitment, what it did was it eradicated, at least from my perspective, a lot of the misconceptions and beliefs that would have held him back or caused him to have judgment over following his own path. You know, he loves to create. He loves the artistry of creating his mosaic, they call it. And Sally, if you could grab me a glass of water. No, that's a little dry. But creating his mosaic, which is his masterpiece, his collection of businesses. And so when I got that, and I made that, yeah, they're getting, thank you. When I got that made a huge, huge difference in my business. I made the decision just like that. It's like, man, I'm gonna give everything back. And my whole world changed. And it's not that I haven't had problems since then, I have. It's not that I'm a perfect being, I'm absolutely not. Thank you. Now here's a perfect being. But I'm not a perfect being. But it made a big difference. And I'd like to share with you some more thoughts about that in a second as well. So for me, I came to a point in my life where I wasn't making a whole lot of money, and I had some financial crises in my life. Does anybody here know anybody that has a financial crisis in their life? Raise your hand if you know somebody who has had a financial crisis in their life. Yeah, I let you guys off the hook on that one. I had a financial crisis in my life. In fact, at one point I was living in Hermosa Beach, California, and I remember I was on California, just in case you guys don't know where it is, being here in Los Angeles. But I was in Hermosa Beach, and I was living in this house that they were tearing down while I lived there. In fact, Topher, you knew me then. That was during that time. And I was sleeping on a mattress on the ground. And I was eating every third day, and my life was going nowhere fast. And I had been to every seminar in the world, and it's like I still wasn't able to apply things in my own life. It has nothing to do with the teaching. It has everything to do with me. And there was also an investment phase, so I was investing, and then it began to explode from a good perspective in terms of finances. Like I had orchestrated some tipping points in my life. And what happened was that the sum total of all the investment that I had made, plus some good revelations, changed my life completely. And I went from being $70,000 in debt to making, doing that much in sales in a single day. Sometimes $1 million in a day, sometimes up to $3 million in a day. Not every day, but often enough to make it noteworthy. And so I looked at that. My whole life turned around. But one of the things that made the biggest difference was deciding to embrace a whole new entrepreneurial mindset. Because I never wanted to be a business person. I just wanted to change the world. I got into speaking because I really wanted to make a difference on the planet, and I want to make a difference in my life. I want to change my life as well. And so I went out there, and at that point I was paying. Actually, this comes direct from Topher. They say that in life you either pay attention or you pay with pain. Yeah. And I was paying, if you fail to pay attention to your relationships, you'll pay with pain. If you fail to pay attention to your health, you'll pay with pain. If you fail to pay attention to your finances, you'll pay with pain. And I was paying with a lot of pain financially in my life. And so what happened was, I decided that I was going to go out and learn from the best of the best. I started studying the richest people on the planet and breaking down their psychology. And I had a lot of tools because I trained in neurolinguistics and hypnosis and a lot of different things like that. And it gave me insights and understandings, knowledge and skills that allowed me to grow and take my business in a brand new direction. And that changed my life for me. And so Robert Kiyosaki wrote a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Who's read that book? Yeah. So one of the things that he talks about in there, he said, true wealth is created when you become a business owner or an investor. The reality is that wealth, the wealthiest people on the planet are oftentimes people that have an active interest in their business, and Warren Buffett has an active interest in his business. Bill Gates has had an active interest. He's been a player in his business. Nonetheless, so that's how that wealth is created. Nonetheless, changing your mindset and moving to that business owner / investor mindset can change your world. So I had a new target, and I was inspired by, Robert's a great teacher we can learn from, as there's many great teachers. I was inspired by that, and I had this great set of tools, and I went out and changed my life. And so I learned how to put the scaffolding underneath my dreams. It's funny, because here we are, and we're in Los Angeles. And there's so many artists, musicians, actors, and disenchanted people that go out there, and they're not making things happen at the level that they want. And from my perspective, you can make anything happen you want if you put the structure under it correctly. And that's, for me, a business structure. And the same goes with philanthropy. And we'll get to that in a second, because that's very, very important. And so I went out and I launched my business. I learned these skills, but one of the things that I believe will set you apart from everybody else out there, and I believe is necessary, and I think competition is healthy. Competition brings out the best in people. Before Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile, it was physically impossible to do in people's minds. But once he did it, everybody started doing that. That became the new benchmark. Right? So competition can bring out the best in us. It makes us better as long as it's healthy competition. And so when in developing this entrepreneurial spirit and this new entrepreneurial mind, what it did for me is it put my destiny into my hands. not in somebody else's hands. You get the actor that goes out and they're waiting to get the approval of somebody else, but all of a sudden they're taking their destiny in their own hands. They say, I want to launch my own production company. I want to produce my own movies, or I'm going to produce my own records. And what happens then is that you have the ability to create what you want, and it's not dependent on some outside force. And so that's what I did, and that's what I endeavor to help other people to do through any talks. I'm just thrilled to be here with TED, because it's an incredible organization, and to be able to speak and share a message that hopefully can change some people's lives. And so when you look at that entrepreneurial mind, if you want to be outstanding, if you want to ensure your success, then you just have to be the best. That's all you have to do. And when I say best, some people have issues with that because it's comparing yourself to other people. I don't really think of that way. It's being the best that you can possibly be. It's like getting a black belt. I've been a martial artist all my life. I got my first black belt when I was 21 years old. I've got a brown belt now in jiu-jitsu. Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I love it. I love the sport. But I've always been a martial artist, so I've had the discipline and the love. And how many people have read Paulo Coelho's book, The Alchemist? By a show of hands. Did you guys like that book? Yes. I love that book. And in the book, The Alchemist, one of the things that the master alchemist said to Santiago, who's the character in the story, is that love is what makes all things great. And if you pour your love into something, that's what transforms lead into gold from an alchemy perspective. But in terms of transforming lead into gold in your life, it's about pouring your love into something. That's what TEDxSantaMonica talks about as being the flow state in the psychology of optimal achievement. Where you lose yourself in that activity. And it's not the love of some end result. It's not the love of making $50 million or anything like that. It's the love of becoming the person who's worth that amount. So it's kind of like your destiny. I had a great quote. It's an old Bruce Lee movie, so excuse me for, let me indulge here for a second, and I'll twist it a little bit, but your destiny's forged. Like if you think of your destiny is being and you think of the fires of your determination, and you think of a sword and you're making it sharp and you're pounding that sword in, pounding the metal to make it sharp so that it really cuts. Your destiny is forged in the fires of your determination. Yeah? And when you think of living your dreams and pouring your passion and your love into something, it's got to be poured into forging who you are. Because who you are your wealth. You are your wealth. Money may come, money may go. The tide comes in, the tide goes out. There's economic changes all the time. I got you, dear. She's going 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. There's economic changes all the time, but like Warren Buffett says, he said, when the tide goes out, you get to see who's been swimming naked. You get to see who's been swimming naked. So, for me, if you're great at what you do, there's always a market for you. Jack Welch from GE says, if you want to be incredible in your field, then what you have to do is you have to be a learning machine, and a massive learning machine is a massive earning machine. So you're constantly, if you're an organization, you're constantly learning, assimilating that learning, and applying that information in the life of the organization. Right? If you're an individual, you're doing that with yourself. I had a conversation with Richard Branson, and we were talking about this topic. I spent a few days on his island, and he had bought that island originally for $300,000, the equivalent of $300,000 US dollars. And today he rents it out for $59,000 US dollars a day. And it's like, wow. And I said, do you have any problems filling it up? And he said, no. He said, when you build something that's the best in the world, there's always a market for it. And that includes yourself. So when you become the best in the world, there's no question as to whether you can make your dreams come true. Raise your hand if you believe that that's true, please. I want to see that if you believe that that's true. Okay, thank you. So if you become the best, how many people, did you all see that video with the 12-year-old kid playing the piano and singing Lady Gaga? Oh, yeah. That was awesome. If you haven't seen that, go look it up on YouTube, and you see the love that this kid poured into becoming great, and he'll blow you away. Just put 12-year-old kid playing Lady Gaga. But this is just the beginning of his life. You know, in Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, he talks about the 10,000 hour concept, pouring 10,000 hours in. And he says that mastery of a certain topic takes about 10,000 hours, which equates to about 10 years, and of anything. Now, like if you look at a chess player, master chess player, they will only become a master chess player once they've put about 10 years effort in. The only person who did it faster was Bobby Fischer, who did it in 7 years. But you got to think that he was pouring a lot more energy into becoming the best. Now, take this concept of becoming the best and take, what are entrepreneurs really good at? Somebody, help me. Ideas, what else? Vision, what else? What are they really good at? There's some reason why they make money. What is it? Connecting, you know, they solve problems. There was a paper written by Andrew Carnegie called Wealth, and today it's published as The Gospel of Wealth. And a lot of, when you look at social entrepreneurialism, is based on the thoughts that came from Carnegie in the early days. And Warren Buffett's thoughts are based on this. Warren Buffett had a huge influence on Bill Gates, and I'm so proud of Melinda to see her, her presentation and how they're taking things on, and the challenge that Bill Gates put out to other billionaires. This thrills me what they're doing. That's so cool. That they're looking to make a difference in the world through their money, right? But I'll tell you what, the bigger difference that you can make in the world is not through your money, it's through sharing your entrepreneurial mind once you've invested in yourself and you become the type of person who can make a difference by mentoring other people so that you can teach them to fish rather than giving them a fish. And when you look at philanthropic structures worldwide today, they've got some structures that are self-sustaining structures, such as National Geographic is a self-sustaining structure. It's a for-profit entity. You look at Friends International is incredible. They take street kids off the streets in Cambodia and they give them skills and they teach them trades. And then they have restaurants that they work in and things that they sell. And they're not taking advantage of these kids. What they're doing is they're making them productive citizens. And so that's a for-profit machine that is self-sustaining, so they don't have a handout. And I think that the greatest thing that we can do to make an impact in our generation is to develop ourselves, to invest in ourselves, and then share the wealth with other people. Share your entrepreneurial mind with other people. Share what you've got with other people. This can make an impact. And I'm proud of the money that people are putting forward. I'm proud of that concept. And I'm even more proud of the people that are going out there and donating their time, because I believe that their time is far more valuable than their money and can make a far greater impact than their money. And that, to me, is what can change the world, because if you develop entrepreneurs who can then create jobs for other people, then the whole world changes. And that's my time. Rock on. Thanks for having me, guys.